glad to be joining you guys for this meeting. I happen to be in Denver this week. I go by the name Tone Vays in the Bitcoin space. I've been involved in that space for about a year and a half. I started out writing my own blog, and I talk about freedom and liberty from an economic perspective. I started out just writing about economics and how Bitcoin can help resolve a lot of the issues, because Bitcoin is a way to get us off the banking system. I just heard a few things that people said, and I don't think politics will ever change from within. It's just not going to happen. Honestly, the best chance that America will have is if Trump gets elected, and it's not that he has any different policies than anybody else. The only difference is Trump isn't bought and paid for. He's funding his own campaign. So that would go a long way. As far as what I do, I mostly write in the Bitcoin space. My background is traditional finance, working in New York City, Bear Stearns, JP Morgan, was around in those institutions during the 2008 financial crisis. And now I left those jobs about 6 months ago now. And I'm going around, I basically travel around the world, speak at Bitcoin conferences. The Bitcoin company I'm associated with is called Brave New Coin. We are a data company first, a news company second. I like to think of ourselves as the Bloomberg of the cryptocurrency space. I did recently speak at Liberty Fest along with people like Gary Johnson and Jeffrey Tucker. I'm sure those names are more familiar. Luke Rudowski was there. He wasn't, I don't believe he was one of the speakers, but a lot of the other people are. And it was a great experience, but again, other than Gary Johnson, there's really nobody that is able to do much in the space from a government perspective. It would be nice to see him run again. It would be great to have him win one day, but we're very far from it. I believe that the socialist countries are in a lot of trouble. We're talking all of Central Europe, the United States, Canada, even Australia. And it's not even the debt. The debt is not a big deal. The debt in the US, 18 trillion, whatever, it's nothing. We have a huge economy. We still have a lot of smart people. The problem is the unfunded liabilities of 120 something trillion dollars. That is what's going to hit it, because they're not affordable. And when they're not, then the problem is there are too many people dependent on a government paycheck. And we're not even talking welfare. Welfare is what, between 5 and 15% at most. But when you add up people dependent on a government paycheck, that's about 50%, between 50 and 55%. And that is just unaffordable. And because that's unaffordable, you are seeing taxes, and especially hidden taxes, go up. Because the government is unable to create inflation. No matter how much money they print, they cannot create inflation. And the reason is because the US dollar is the world reserve currency. And anything they print gets absorbed globally. So they need to print for the world, not print for the United States, and they cannot print enough. So because they can't print enough, they have to raise taxes everywhere, whether you notice it or not. Fines going up, everything is going up. Every government agency is now fanning for themselves. Between the firemen and the policemen and the medical, you get into an accident, there'll be 3 different ambulances because they're all fighting for their survival to charge you more money. And that's because of the unfunded liabilities. And it's only going to get worse. So I really don't see, I don't see things changing until there's actual defaults on those kinds of salaries. So this is the kind of stuff I talk about from a financial perspective, and why Bitcoin is important and why people need to understand it. And to me, the promise of Bitcoin is the ability to move your money cross borders without restrictions, because that is also becoming impossible. Also for everyone here, because you mentioned the movie, I'm going to recommend the documentary. Perhaps you haven't heard of it. It's called The Forecaster. It might be a little hard to get in the US, and it might be expensive to stream. It was only shown in a few theaters. The documentary follows a man named Martin Armstrong. Again, anybody heard the name before? I strongly recommend you look up that name, Mark Armstrong. He does have a blog, and he's probably the economic genius of our time, and he spent about 11 years in jail for it. And it's a very interesting case, and he explains why you can't trust the court system, because he holds the Guinness Book of World Record for contempt of court. And the case that he was building was the case against the banks, and as Building 7 was mentioned, that's where mounds and mounds of evidence that he had against all the financial institutions were during the time of his trial. It was during the time of 9/11. So there are a lot of things that are connected. Pretty much all of economics are connected. I'm not a big believer in conspiracy theories either. I also believe that what is done is done. You can't change the past. You just have to look towards the future, and hopefully when all these socialist nations default on the promises the politicians keep giving and they can't keep, a better system, a technological system, where rules are more governed by mathematics than by the whims and promises of politicians, can start another chapter with some other nation, probably Asia, is going to be the next superpower. America's time is numbered. We're coming up to an end of how long the superpower lasts. Britain had their shot before America, now it's America. Within this century, it's going to shift over to another region.
You call it technocracy?
I'm not calling it anything. I don't think there is a name.
And where can we find your work again?
So you can just Google my name. I do a lot of podcasts. I haven't had too much time to write on my personal blog. My personal blog is called Liberty Life Trail. I post all the videos and the articles that I write through there. There's some original content there. I haven't had much time for it lately. Other than that, you can find me on Brave New Coin. And I publish a Bitcoin Traders Report, and I try to talk about global economics within that report.
Thanks for coming, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody got questions? That's really cool. I appreciate that's content right there. That's what's up, man. That's really cool video.
That's my background. Yeah, I have a lot of podcasts I do. I've done a Jeff Borwick's Anarchast, and I do Freedom's Phoenix a bunch of times.
Let's talk about that.
I like that thing you said about